Welcome to Two Pete's in a Podcast, where we will talk about child health from birth right away through to adolescence, dealing with issues of illness, development, and everything else that is of importance. Welcome to Two Pete's in a Podcast for our third podcast in the series on fever. And today we're going to be talking about how you actually measure a child's body temperature. So we've spoken about...
Who are we?
Oh, who are we? So I'm Dr. Simon Strawn, and with me is my friend and colleague, Dr. Michael Platten. Hi, Mike.
Hello.
How are you doing?
No, very well, thanks. And you?
Good, thank you. That's right. So
Winter day.
Winter day, but beautiful, hey?
It is, nice and sunny.
Yeah. So how do you measure a temperature? So I certainly remember sticking my elbow into the bath water for my children and going, oh, that's about the right temperature.
That's old school.
That's
Nowadays,
old school.
I use an actual thermometer, and it told me 37.5 or 38, and we're good.
All right. The other thing is that very often parents will touch the child's forehead. And there's actually, I can remember years ago, Mike, reading a research paper that if a parent puts their hand on the child's forehead and says, my child does not have a fever, they are correct 95% of the time.
It's a good amount.
Good amount. If that same parent puts their hand on the child's forehead and says, oh, my child actually does have a fever, they're right 50% of the time.
Yeah, so
your hand's not particularly good.
1 in 2.
Yeah. So your hand's...
But you know that if it's not there, it's not there.
So it's 50-50. So Mike, talk us through it. What are the ways in which parents should be measuring their children's body temperature when they feel that their child is warm and perhaps has a fever?
Yeah, so I think I need to start by saying you need to use what you are comfortable with.
Yeah.
And preferably what you have at home. Okay. And you use the same thermometer every single time, because then you have a baseline.
Yeah.
Okay. The different ways that we can take a temperature are a digital thermometer or a old school mercury thermometer. The other things, newer technology is infrared, either on the forehead or in the ear. And I need to start by saying a temperature done with an infrared thermometer like you do at restaurants or other places where they check your arm or in your neck, that is not accurate. Please do not use it.
And I think also that with those ones, would you agree, if you're taking it on the forehead, that you need to be in a fairly neutral environmental temperature?
Yes.
Because if you've been lying out in the sun or you stuck your head in the freezer and you take the forehead temperature.
Why would you do that?
Because you're going to get two different temperatures, surely.
Yes. So the different ways of taking a temperature with a digital or a mercury thermometer is either up the bum, under the arm, or in the older child, in the mouth. Once again, the mouth will be influenced by what they have been drinking. If they've just had a hot cup of tea, it's going to be higher. If they have a cold drink with ice in, it's going to be lower. So just be cognizant of that.
Yeah, I would actually say, you know what, I mean, in the mouth too, you've got to have it under the tongue with the tongue down. I think adults can probably get by with that. Yeah. I would say rather go under the arm with the thermometer you would normally stick in the mouth, and up the bum with a rectal thermometer, one that's designed for that use.
Yeah. So under the arm, the metal part at the end is just a bit longer, and the rectal one is a bit shorter and more round, so it doesn't cause trauma. Right. So up the bum with the digital thermometers, you're going to push the button, and it's going to beep after normally about 1 to 2 minutes, or when it gets to a stable temperature, it's going to say, that's what it is. Like we said in our first podcast, if it's above 38, then it's a fever. For under the arm, we are going to add 0.5 to 1 degree. And once again, you have to make sure that it's firmly put against the chest underneath the arm, or in the armpit, right as far up as you can get.
Right up in the armpit. And then you actually need to physically hold the arm against the chest wall. And what Mike is saying is that if a child doesn't have a fever, all right, let's say the child, you're just going to take the body temperature. And if you take it with a rectal thermometer, you are going to get a body temperature of not higher than 37.5. So we call that limit normal. If you do it under the arm with a thermometer, you're going to get a temperature of about 36.5 to 37 in the same child at the same time.
Yes.
So when you are taking the temperature under the arm, and let's say the child has a fever and it is 38 under the arm, right?
Then it's significant.
Right, exactly. Because if you take a rectal thermometer at the same time and stick it up the bum, that rectal is going to be 38.5 or 39.
Yes.
That's the point. So just be aware of that when you're using it under the arm. Whatever you get, whatever reading you're getting, add on 0.5 or 1 degree, that kind of a range.
Okay. So the next thing is the infrared thermometers. That, like we said, is on the forehead or in the ear. Now, the in-ear one, it is very, very dependent on how you do it and what is in the ear at that point. So if you know that your child has a lot of wax, it might not be accurate. If you're not doing it in the right way, it might also not be accurate. So what I mean by that right way is that the thermometer shoots out a beam of light that needs to hit the eardrum and then needs to come back. So there needs to be a clear line between the eardrum and the actual thermometer. Normally what we do is to get that line of sight is we pull the ear up and back on the head a bit. And that normally opens up the ear canal and gives a much better reading. And
because otherwise, if you don't do that, what you're really getting is you're just getting skin temperature.
That's why it varies up and down.
And very often, Mike, you will hear parents tell us that the left ear is this temperature and the right ear is that temperature, which is a physical impossibility. The child's temperature is the child's temperature.
Yes.
So it just is kind of how well you're doing it on one side or the other. But infrared thermometers in the ear are very accurate. Yes. They're very easy to do.
Would you say that that's same as core temperature?
Yes, I do. I do. Yeah. I think it's a very good way. And it's quick. But as Mike says, I think it is important just to get the child calm, sitting comfortably. Just take the ear with your forefinger and your thumb on the back of the ear, pull it backwards a little bit and up a little bit, and then put the thermometer into the ear and do your beep beep, and you'll get your temperature.
I think that's about it.
I'm happy with that. I think that's what it means. I think we've got enough explanation in the first two on what it all means. And I think in the next one, we're talking about what to do
how to treat it. Yes.
How to treat it. Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you're worried, let us know. We're there. Please contact us. Okay. So if your children have allowed you to, thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. If you found this of value, please be sure to sign up to our email list at www.careforkids.co.za, and that's the numeral 4, and subscribe in your favorite podcast app or follow us on Facebook.
At 2 Pete in a Podcast.
At 2 Pete in a Podcast.
TWO, not the numerical 2.
This is our disclaimer. The information we have given you in this podcast is our own personal professional opinion. We're giving it to you for your own information. Please don't use it to treat yourself or to treat anybody else. Rather, go and see your own medical healthcare provider and follow their advice.